Words, they're just fundamental, aren't they? Really the building blocks for how we understand everything, the way we trade ideas, and really mastering them, expanding your vocabulary.
Yeah.
It can feel like you've unlocked some secret level of communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just about having more words, but like having the right word pop into your head when you need it to say exactly what you mean or to really get what someone else is trying to tell you.
That's a great way to put it. Think of your vocabulary almost like a toolkit. A basic set lets you do the simple stuff,
Right.
but a richer set, more precise tools, that lets you handle really complex jobs with nuance and efficiency.
Yeah.
And that's what a bigger vocabulary gives you, the power to deal with complex ideas or maybe formal situations or specific topics and feel confident doing it.
And that journey, building that better toolkit, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got this really interesting source here. It's an outline for an IELTS vocabulary masterclass. Now, forget the test part for a moment, though. Obviously, if you are prepping, this is fantastic stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
Our real mission here is to use this outline kind of like a map. We're going to explore it, pull out the really valuable words, the key strategies, the sort of underlying principles that anyone listening, whether you're studying, working, or just like being well informed, can use to seriously level up your English.
So we're basically treating this outline as a blueprint for building stronger language skills. It looks like it progresses pretty logically too, starting with like core building blocks and then adding layers.
Exactly. We'll be looking at some powerful verbs that really add punch, exploring how you can swap out everyday words for more formal ones when you need to. We'll dive into topic-specific terms so you can talk about complex things accurately, find descriptive words that, add color and impact, and even pick up some handy phrases to make your speaking feel smoother, more confident. It's all about building up that proficiency layer by layer.
Okay, sounds good. Let's dig into this blueprint then. It seems to kick off by really emphasizing powerful verbs. Why start with verbs, do you think?
Well, verbs are the action words, aren't they? The engines in our sentences. And choosing a strong, precise verb just immediately makes your meaning clearer, especially, like the outline says, in formal writing or when you're giving detailed reports.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's where you move beyond just saying something happened to really describing how it happened with more authority.
Exactly. The outline highlights some really good examples here. Let's take mitigate. Instead of just saying make less bad, which sounds a bit clunky,
Right.
you use mitigate specifically to mean making something less severe.
Ah, like the example they give. The new policies aim to mitigate climate change.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Mitigate carries that specific sense of reducing harm or severity. Much more precise than, say, lessen.
Totally. Or look at substantiate. This means providing evidence to back something up. The outline's example is, she failed to substantiate her argument with reliable evidence. That single verb, substantiate, tells you straight away the proof wasn't there.
And you've also got advocate, which is about publicly supporting a cause.
Right.
Facilitate making a process easier. And undermine, that's an interesting one. Weakening something gradually, often in a sneaky way.
Yeah, I like that one too. These verbs aren't just, fancy synonyms. They carry specific shades of meaning, specific connotations. Using undermine suggests that slow, maybe deliberate weakening. It's different from just saying weaken.
Precisely. And by using verbs like these, you instantly add credibility, you add precision to what you're saying or writing, whether it's an essay or, explaining something complex at work, you're showing a command of language that kind of matches the seriousness of the topic.
Okay, so you've got these strong verbs adding action and precision, but how do you make sure your language, fits the situation? That seems to be the next part of this outline. Choosing the right word for the context. It talks about register.
Register. Yeah, that's basically recognizing that, how you talk to your friends is pretty different from how you write a formal email or give a presentation.
Right. Different situations, different words.
Exactly. Formal situations often call for more formal word choices.
And this is where we see those swaps, simple common words having more formal equivalents. It's not about never using basic words again, but knowing when to switch them out to sound a bit more polished or professional, like the word get. Super common. We use it all the time.
Yeah.
But in a formal context, you might say acquire or obtain. You acquire knowledge. Maybe you obtain permission.
Good examples. And think about simple adjectives too. Instead of just saying something is good, you could use beneficial or advantageous.
Like the example. The new education policy is beneficial to students. That sounds much more, I don't know, analytical than just saying it's good.
Definitely. Yeah. And the flip side, bad, could become detrimental or adverse.
Oh.
Help could be assist or support. Even think. You could upgrade that to consider or contemplate in the right context.
Right, like thinking more deeply. And what about deal with? That's another really common one.
Yeah, that transforms into address or tackle. The source uses the law failed to address the core issues. See how address there means handling or considering the problem.
Mm-hmm. That's really clear. And these replacements, they're not just for sounding, formal. They're brilliant for paraphrasing too, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely vital.
If you need to reword something from a source without just copying it, knowing these alternatives gives you that flexibility. It's a key skill.
It really is. And speaking of specific situations, the blueprint then shifts into building topic-specific vocabulary.
Ah. Right.
This is where you gather the precise terms you need to discuss particular subjects accurately, which is, essential whether you're reading academic stuff, following the news, or in professional discussions.
Yeah, you need the right language for the job. The outline seems to focus on 3 big areas: education, environment, and technology, common topics.
Makes sense.
So for education, you get words like curriculum, what's actually taught,
Right.
literacy, the ability to read and write, and tuition, the cost.
And to give the example, tuition fees have increased dramatically. That immediately puts you in the specific financial context of education. Other useful terms listed are academic performance and assessment.
Okay. Then for the environment, you see words like sustainability.
Crucial concept.
Yeah, meeting today's needs without messing things up for the future. Emissions, the gases released, and conservation, protecting nature.
The example, conservation efforts are essential for biodiversity. Uses conservation perfectly there. You also get renewable for energy sources and degrade, which often refers to ecosystems breaking down.
And the last one, technology. Terms like artificial intelligence, innovation, cybersecurity.
Very current.
Definitely. And the digital divide, that gap between people who have tech access and those who don't, plus access to information.
Having these clusters of words ready to go just allows you to speak or write about these complex subjects with, authority and clarity. You're not stumbling around with vague language. You're using the actual terms people in those fields use.
Yeah, it makes you sound like you actually know what you're talking about, whether it's, climate policy or the newest AI thing. Having that specific vocabulary just unlocks the conversation.
So, okay, you've got your powerful verbs. You know how to adjust formality. You've got words for specific topics. What's next? The outline seems to move to adding color and impact with adjectives and adverbs.
Right, the descriptive power-ups. These are the words that add detail, emphasis, maybe a bit of nuance.
Make things more vivid?
Exactly. They make your descriptions sharper and your arguments more convincing. Think about an adjective like pivotal. That means critically important, right? The source uses it in education plays a pivotal role in shaping society. Saying pivotal just feels much stronger, more specific than just saying important.
It does. Other weighty adjectives listed here are inevitable, certain to happen, overwhelming, too much, remarkable, really worth noticing, and profound, very great or intense.
Hang on, how do you know when to use, say, pivotal instead of just important? Is there a danger of overdoing it with these fancy words?
That's a really good question. It's about using them strategically. Pivotal suggests something is a real turning point or absolutely essential for the outcome. Important is, more general.
Okay.
So you pull out pivotal when you want to signal that specific high level of critical influence. If you overuse words like this, your language can start to sound a bit unnatural or forced. Yep. So the key is really understanding the subtle differences and using them where they genuinely add the most impact.
That makes sense. Choose the most precise word for the impact you actually want.
Got it. And adverbs, they do something similar, but for actions and descriptions,
Exactly right. Adverbs like significantly or substantially. They tell you how much or to what extent something is happening or is true. Like the example, the results were significantly better this year. That tells you the improvement wasn't just small, it was noticeable, important.
Precisely. And other adverbs here, arguably that's useful for introducing a point that, could be debated but has strong backing.
Right.
Evidently means clearly or obviously. And undoubtedly expresses complete certainty.
Okay.
These words let you sort of qualify your statements, express how certain or uncertain you are, add detail about scale. They help you move away from just flat, simple descriptions toward ones that have more depth and perspective.
Yeah, adding these kinds of descriptive words definitely makes your language richer, more engaging, helps you paint a clearer picture, or maybe make a stronger point.
Okay, so the final section in this outline seems to shift focus a little bit, away from just the words themselves and more towards spoken fluency. It brings in speaking boosters and linking expressions.
Ah, yeah. Because talking isn't just about knowing words, it's about connecting your ideas smoothly, making it flow like a real conversation.
Exactly. Conversations need that natural flow.
And these are those like handy little phrases that help structure your thoughts out loud or signal your opinion clearly. Things like starting with, to be honest, if you want to give a frank opinion, or from my perspective.
Yeah, the example for that one is, from my perspective, online learning is more flexible. It immediately flags for the listener that this is your view, not necessarily a fact everyone agrees on.
Good point. And without a doubt, that's a strong one for showing you're really certain. It's worth mentioning that. That seems perfect for adding a relevant bit of info, maybe some important context, like their example. It's worth mentioning that not everyone has equal access.
Yeah, that's a really useful one. And I tend to think that is a nice, slightly softer way to introduce an opinion, maybe something that reflects your general feeling on a topic.
So these aren't just like filler words, they're actually functional tools. They help you organize your thoughts when you're speaking in real time.
Absolutely.
They help you sound maybe less hesitant, more structured, makes it easier for whoever's listening to follow along with your ideas.
Think of them like the signposts or the connecting roads in your conversation. They guide the listeners smoothly from one point to the next.
Okay, so looking back at this whole masterclass outline now, it really does feel like a pretty comprehensive blueprint for building up a powerful language toolkit.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground.
It starts with the core actions, the verbs, then moves to picking the right tool for the job, those formal words, then adds specialized tools for specific tasks, the topic vocabulary, then gives you ways to refine the finish, like with the adjectives and adverbs, and finally, makes sure the whole thing runs smoothly with those speaking boosters.
It really shows that mastering vocabulary isn't just about, memorizing lists of words. It's a much more strategic process. It's about acquiring different types of words and phrases for different purposes. You need words for precision, for formality, for talking about specific subjects, for making an impact, and for making it all flow.
And the outline even suggests practical ways to actually make these words stick, right? Like writing your own sentences or practicing paraphrasing. That seems crucial.
Definitely. It has to be about active use, not just passive knowledge stashed away somewhere.
Yeah.
The real value here isn't just in knowing the individual words, but in understanding how they all fit together, how they function to help you communicate more effectively.
Well, that brings us pretty much to the end of our deep dives into this vocabulary masterclass outline. We've unpacked quite a few layers of language tools, those precise verbs, formal alternatives, topic-specific terms, descriptive adjectives and adverbs, and those phrases for smoother speaking.
And the goal really was to show you how these aren't just abstract ideas from a textbook. They're practical tools, things you can start using, today to express yourself more clearly, more confidently, more effectively in pretty much any situation. Whether you're crafting an important email, chipping in during a meeting, or just having a really good conversation, it's about upgrading your ability to connect and, maybe even influence through the words you choose.
It definitely feels like a powerful upgrade. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, something to kind of mull over as you start trying out some of these words in your own language. How does expanding your vocabulary not just change the way you speak or write, but maybe fundamentally change the way you think about the world? Does having a specific word for a subtle concept actually help you see that concept more clearly in the first place?
That's an interesting question.
Something to think about until next time.